Hey guys, welcome back to the tutorial series. This is episode 4, and today we will be covering if statements, and we will be using and, or, and the not operators. So let's get started. So if statements in Python help us know whether if something is true or false. So a quick example would be weather equals rainy, and we will check if the weather is rainy. We'll use a double equals and say rainy. One equal sign assigns a value to a variable, double checks. Don't forget the colon at the end, and then we indent it, and then we will write print grab an umbrella. Grab an umbrella. Now, else statements are very simple. So, if this isn't true, it'll just do the else statement. So, if the weather isn't rainy, if it's anything else, it'll just do this. Forgot the quotes. There you go. And now if I change it to anything else but rainy, so we say sunny, it'll tell us no need for an umbrella. And this is just some of the basic things you can do with if statements. You can use if statements with integers, boolean values, etc., so on and so forth. Now let's introduce the else if statement. So the else if statement is written like this. It's called elf, and this is okay if this, okay, it's not rainy, and then okay, it checks otherwise if this, and then so on and so forth. So you can have multiple else if statements. So we can say else if weather equals sunny, don't forget the colon, we'll print grab some sunscreen. So we can do this again. Else if weather equals snowing, it will say print grab a coat. So now we have a simple if statement where it checks each possible outcome. Grab a coat. Let's say if it's anything else, let's say cloudy, no need for an umbrella. It's as simple as that. So this is how you use it. For another example, we can have variable x equal 1, and we will check if x equals 1, and if it, remember those double, and if it is equal to 1, we will print x is 1, and then x is 1. There you go. It's as simple as that. Boolean values and everything combined you can do that with. So after all this, we will now use the keywords we have, which are our operators we went over last episode. We have the and, not, and or operators. So let's give us a good example. We will say age equals to 18 and has license equals to true, capital case true, we'll say if age is equal to 18, sorry, let's just say greater than or equal to 16, and then this is our first operator, and has license, then we say print you can drive. There you go. But let's say this was 15, you can't drive. So even though you have a license, you can't drive. So this has to be over 16 and you have to have a license. So let's say you were 18 and didn't have your license. It would also do the same thing. Now let's say we use the or operator. So this or that. 18. Okay, are you above 16? Yes. Okay, it doesn't matter if you have a license or not. Okay, you're not above 16, you have a license. Okay, so yes, you can drive. Put this at 13 and put this to true. You can drive. Now let's get into the not operator. So let's say if not has license. Now this might seem very confusing, but it's really not. This basically reverses whatever this is. So this is true if not has license. So if he doesn't have a license, meaning that this checks if this is false. So it's not going to print anything. But if it's false, it will print you can drive. A better scenario would be calling this variable doesn't have license, and if he has a license, you can print you can drive. So that's how the not operator works. We can also do the is operator. This also is used with things like none. Some people also like to call it null, but that's in other languages as well. So we'll say none to say that we're assigning none to this variable. It's a placeholder for now, and if a is none, we will say print nothing variable. Nothing is in this variable. There you go. And there you go. Now, is true, not gonna print. Is false, not gonna print. You cannot use this for strings and stuff like that. So like if I say none and then I say is true, I believe this shouldn't work. Yes, it should not. You have to use equal signs for anything else except these Boolean values, because Boolean values can use the is operator. And this is it for these examples, and here is a challenging example. I need you to create a simple voting system where it asks the user his age and if he's a citizen or not, and from that you can deduce if the person can vote or he can't vote. Pause the video right now, create it, and come back. Okay, now that you're back, we will say age equal to int input, and in this input we will say enter age, and then we will say citizen, and we'll say equal, and then input, and we will say are you a citizen, and we'll ask for a yes or no answer. Now we will say if age is greater than or equal than 18 and citizen dot lower. So just so some of you guys can understand this, sorry, hold on. The dot lower makes any user input or something like that, or any string in general, lowercase. So if you have an uppercase situation, it makes the whole thing lowercase. Upper does the opposite, where it makes it uppercase. It's pretty simple, as simple as that. And then we're just gonna say yes, then we'll say print you can vote. And then, as simple as it is, we just say else print you can't vote. As simple as that. Now, another challenging example that you guys can do is create a simple authentication system where you ask for the username and password of the user, and you can choose any username and password, and if the username and password are correct, it'll print access granted. If it's wrong, it'll say wrong password, and if the username is wrong, it'll print user not found. So as simple as that. Pause the video, come back, and then see if you did it closely right. It doesn't have to be exactly the same, as long as it's in the same working state as this code. So how we're gonna do this is actually pretty simple. So we will create two variables, one called username, and we will set this equal to admin, and sorry, that is not meant to be there. And then password, and then we'll call it 1234, and then we will say, sorry, these have to be user inputs. So user input please enter username input enter password, and then for a little understanding, what I was thinking is you have username and password, and then you have those set as variables, and then you just check if those variables match the user inputs that the player or user put in. So for example, that would be just a copy of these with the correct variables in them, and it would just be if, and we would replace the quotes with the actual variables. So username equal, rather than doing admin, we would have put in the username recorded into the variable, or just the variable in general that's saved into the code. So, and password equals 1234. Almost forgot the colon. You gotta remember your colons, guys. And we will just say print access granted, else if username equals only admin. So we're saying the password is incorrect. We'll just say print password incorrect, and else we'll just say print username cannot be found. Now we'll just enter admin 1234, access granted. If we only enter admin and say any other password incorrect, and if we just enter some gibberish, it will say username not found. Now this is a very scalable system. As I said, usually the system would be used with lists, arrays, and things like hash maps, with username, password, hash maps, things like that. So as of that, these systems are very scalable, and that's why usually people do not use these systems. You usually have individual lists and arrays of usernames and passwords for scalability and things like that. But that's it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, please leave a like and comment so far what you've been thinking, anything I should add, anything I should remove, any information that you want to know. And then in the next episode, I'm going to go over while loops and for loops. So stay tuned for that episode, and peace.